Hello, Edson Oliveira here. This is the CMS monthly chat. Will, I told you not to bring your bot replacement chats to the conversation here. Okay, you know what? This is my bad attempt. I just want to clarify. This is my bad attempt to make a joke with our friend Will Stroh, and I'll explain that a little bit down the road. But again, I'm gonna restart here. This is the DNN monthly chat, and I have a bunch of guests today, including Will Stroh, Joe Craig, Hans Lentin, and Steve, not N, because there's a hidden one here, but Steve Bugden from the UK as well, and hidden behind the scenes, we have Scott Wilson as well, because he forgot his camera. It's fine, Scott. I mean, we can live without your face for this episode only, okay? So again, welcome everybody. Everybody will have a chance to chime in here, and then again, as we go through this, the agenda, if any one of you guys have anything to mention, anything to say, just raise your hand and let's go for it. But let me start by talking about first of all, the DNN 911 release, which came out about 20 days ago. And we have been talking a lot about security. I mean, it seems to be a topic that, I don't know, it's never ending. It seems that it will never end here. And there's always something new going on. There's always something else to be said. But one of the points of DNN 911 release was to address a critical security issue that was going on. So that was addressing that release. But not only that, 911 release also brought back a feature that I was really hoping to see it, coming back to DNN, which is the ability to stay in edit mode, to be, so when you browse through a DNN 9 website, it keeps closing the edit mode, and now you can click a second time in the pencil, and the edit mode will stick around. So you won't lose that as you navigate through the website. I think that's awesome. But again, another point was the security fix that was addressed in that release. What else on that? So much about security here. I want to get your opinions as well. Here is a blog post that goes through another release that was just published a few days ago about the security analyzer, the DNN security analyzer, which is a module that you add to DNN. If you are already running 911, the patch that gets fixed with DNN 911, you don't require necessarily DNN Security Analyzer to be installed aside, but if you are running any version of DNN between 5, and I have the number here, between 5.6.2 and up, you should definitely be downloading the Security Analyzer, install on your site, and let's have a look. I want to stop. I still have quite a few things to talk about security, but I want to stop here to see if anyone wants to raise your hand and talk a little bit about that. And anybody from a security point of view?
I'll just point out that there was a new release of the security analyzer yesterday. So probably makes sense to update that.
And the important thing about that is there's a check for that Telerik patch that you're talking about right now in that security analyzer update. And there's also an update in there for more consistent results around file permissions. And there's one other thing that I forget off the top of my head.
Okay, yeah. So is the Telerik thing, Will, the same thing as this possible remote code execution on DNN? Because this seems to be the big one that it's been addressed right now.
I think it is. I'm not 100% certain because I think there's two things that came out, and The big one, though, was the Telerik one where they could do file uploads. But I mean, that would allow some of that. But I think the remote code execution might be the other new one.
Got it, got it. So I just want to reinforce that versions from DNN 5.6.2 all the way back to DNN 5.6.2 up until, DNN 9.1.0, you should definitely download the tool, download the security analyzer, install it. It will already apply the patch that we're talking about. And again, you have the latest version of that module. Now, one caveat about this module is that if you apply the module, if you install the module on an older version of DNN, and you try to upgrade that older version of DNN to a newer version that is not DNN 9, you may get, you may have a problem there. Because I think that's because the new version of Security Analyzer has a higher release number as compared to the versions that comes together with DNN 8 and prior to that. You might have a problem upgrade that. And the solution is very simple. You can definitely install Security Analyzer. If you're gonna upgrade, you should uninstall Security Analyzer, and then you can upgrade, and then you can install Security Analyzer. So it's just a little caveat here that you have to be mindful about if you are installing the module on an older version of DNN, and if you intend to upgrade that older version to a version that is not DNN 9 yet. It's DNN 8 or something like that. So again, just a little caveat here that I want to mention. What else about that?
Okay. So there's one other thing, Anderson, with that. If somebody's comfortable with editing the upgrade package, because I've run into this too, you can also remove the security analyzer, because I'm not a really big fan of uninstalling anything that's security related.
I get it. I mean, you're very, very right there. Let me see what else we have about. Okay, so you mentioned something interesting, Will, there, which is about uploads. And Steve, I was gonna mention your name in this chat because you brought to me a good point the other day, which was, so how do we approach uploads in a custom module, in a custom DNN module? And I'd like to see if anyone in the panel here has any tips or any approaches, maybe of what not to do, or maybe of what to do when we need to create upload functionality in our custom modules. Anyone has do this or do not do that? I mean, anyone has anything to mention about uploads specifically for custom modules?
So I didn't want to okay, good. Somebody else go.
I'll certainly let you do it, Will, if you. Well, I'll just mention real quickly. I have a couple things from a development perspective. The first thing being that know the audience who's uploading, right? If it's not everybody, then you can definitely put some security around it. We know how to do that. Role-based security in DNN. But the big a couple other big things is know what type of file you want to have your users upload, right? If what you're asking for is an image or a PDF, then restrict to that file type, and you can do that on the client easily, but also on the server side, right? When you're processing the file on the server, the biggest thing you can do is to rewrite the file and rename the file, and so the user does not have to know where you ultimately place the file. The file comes in on the request, and it's up to you on the server side to write that file to your file system, right? So you could determine where to write that file. You should not write that file anywhere where the user should know where that is. Right? Because the most common hack you could allow is to allow someone to upload, say, a PHP file, and then to allow them to reference that file through HTTP request, which would execute it. So write that file to somewhere that, in the file system that they don't know where it is. I've heard a lot of security experts say write it to a different file share. That's difficult to do in DNN because you probably want access to it, maybe in the portals folder. But one trick you could do with regard to IIS is add .resources to the extension, which is how the secure folders work in the file management system. Simply rename that file with .resources at the end of it. What that does is it prevents IIS from serving it up flat out, even if the user knows where that file is, within the context of your HTTP, file path. Anything with .resources at the end of it, IIS will not serve up. So you could still access the file through your module by grabbing it through System IO and reading it up, but IIS will not serve it up. And also there's things you can do for regard to if you know the file type that you're asking for is a PDF, right? You want your users to upload a PDF file. There's tools out there like for parsing PDFs. Where there's one called iTextSharp, I think, I think it's called iTextSharp that we use for parsing PDF files. And the purpose we use it for is for parsing a PDF file to get the information out of it for search indexing, right? But you could use that tool just to parse the PDF file just to see if it's valid, right? Because somebody might upload a file that has a PDF extension to it, but is actually not a PDF file. You could use a tool like that to say, is this really a PDF? And if it's not, then just throw it out.
Got it. And I would assume, Steve, that this kind of check, I mean, you can there might be libraries and code that you can use this kind of validation to validate, is this really an image, is this really a PDF, is this really a text file? I would assume that there are things that you can use the same mechanism to validate other types of files.
Exactly. If it's a Word doc, there are Word or their Office file parsers. If it's an image, you could probably read it into a bitmap or something and just validate that it is actually an image. So yeah, there's things you could do, with regard to file parsing, just to make sure that it is the type of file that they say. You can't go by the extension.
Got it. Will, you had something to add there. You were about to talk about files as well. I mean, again, if you don't have anything, but I mean, tell us.
No, so just at a baseline level, I think most of the people that have been susceptible to this is not just the people that have upload in their custom modules, but they're doing their own custom implementation of uploads, which isn't necessary in most cases. But because DNN has built-in upload capabilities, and it makes it super easy for you to do it that way. I know there's use cases where that's not possible. So and I had one myself. And so in that particular case, instead of just doing my own complete upload mechanism, did it through the API, what is it called, Web API, and so that adds that adds an additional layer of security as well. Well, if you take advantage of it. But that was also an Angular module. So. I would just tell people if they can avoid it, don't use their own custom implementation first of all, right?
Got it. Okay. The other thing that I've heard about, and again, I know that the security issues that are going around is not just about upload. I just wanted to bring the point because it seems to be a very clear potential vulnerability that people can open up unknowingly. Because using different practices when they are doing their coding, even it seems to me, and again, correct me anyone if this does make sense, but even creating custom HTTP handlers can be also a source of vulnerability. Correct? Will, you shook your head there.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big things that's happened recently, because there was a point in time where creating a web service was not straightforward and not easy, and in other cases it was not. It would have compatibility issues with other things, and so a lot of people created handlers, but handlers don't have built-in security. So, in creating that is basically every single time a brand new approach, right? And I mean, if you have it in the same application, then you can reuse that, but it's something you have to recreate for everything that you build. And so that's been the big exploit. So if anybody has custom modules on their site, whether they're completely custom or third party, they definitely should look for any ASHX files and then contact the vendor to see if they've done any checks on that.
Got it. I would love to see something from maybe from the community, maybe from DNN Corp that would say that, and maybe some of those might be obvious to some developers, but they may not be obvious to other developers. And as I'm gonna mention in a second, we have a lot of problems within the DNN store of modules not working that well. But I would love to see something from DNN Corp that says, hey, this is the right approach to do X, and let's focus on the security problems that we had, and what are the things that what were the mistakes that we saw people doing. Those were the problems, and this is the correct way to address them, the correct way to approach them for a new module or to retrofit in an existing module that you may have. I would love to see something like that. I will keep moving forward here, and it's still about security. I just saw a very nice post from Mitchell Sellers. He is talking about more about security, more about problems that were seen from a few modules like DNN Go, like Mandips. That Mandip seems to have addressed that already. Easy DNN is another one that was affected and seems to be addressed as well. However, DNN Go, I mean, unfortunately, they seem to be gone. I mean, they are gone from, at least from the store for now. Again, I really feel, in a way, I feel bad for them, feel sorry for them, because I would assume that this has impacted their business very negatively. I mean, to be placed outside of the DNN store, in their case, I think it's huge for them. They are still selling their modules, mostly their skins, their themes on their own websites. And I would hope that at some point they address the problems and they are able to be restated back to the ecosystem, back to the store. But yeah, they are the ones that were, I think, that were mostly affected by vulnerabilities that they may have created on their own, of not following certain best practices. But again, my heart goes to them, and I hope that they get their act together and they are able to get reinstated back in the store. I was a real big proponent of their themes. I was always promoting their themes, and again, yeah, I'm guilty about that. I still love their themes. I still like their themes, and as I said before, I hope they get their act together and they come back strong to the DNN store. So the other one that I just saw this week that was affected is DNN Sharp, but they seem to have created already a patch. I don't know what exactly was going on with their modules, but again, another security thing that was detected there. They have released a patch. I would assume that every customer of DNN Sharp should have received a notification, and there's a link to download a patch for a few of their modules, not too many, but two of their modules. What else about security? So Mitchell, I would I guess ask you to keep updating your security report, which was very comprehensive. I would urge people to have a look at what Mitchell put together, and maybe Mitchell do that once a month to so we know what's going on. We know the different security things that we have to address. So love that post that you put together there. What else we have? So trying to finish here this security topic. DNN Corp has already put some additional checks in place for the DNN store to try to alert, that's what I understand, to try to alert vendors, module vendors, or theme vendors that are not following some of the best practices. And I'll give you one example here. But let's say just by using by having a .aspx file in their installation. That's not, I mean, it might be required here and there, but it's not a best practice. So again, DNN Corp is tidying up the checks that they will be doing for modules, for vendors going forward in the DNN store. That's what I understand, and it's a good approach. What else about security here? I had so much. Let me see. Let me keep going here. Yeah, so DNN Go is gone for now. Okay, I think that's the last point that I have to make. I saw this a nice PowerPoint on SlideShare from Ash Prasad from DNN Corp, and he talks about best practices on how to harden the security of your .NET website, .NET in general, but of course those points that he mentioned are very applicable to DNN as well as a .NET application. So I will definitely check out the SlideShare. I was not able to find the webinar that he has put together for that, so I was not able to find that. I only found the SlideShare. I think that in regards to security, that's it. Anybody else has anything around security to mention, or can I close that door? Okay, so I'm gonna close that door and I'm gonna move on. Let's see here now, Mr. Willstrow. Let's talk a little bit about hotcakes. Hotcakes. I don't know if you have been able already to to talk more about hotcakes on some, maybe on a meetup or maybe on something else, but I'd like to start by asking you this. How was that decision of transitioning hotcakes from a paid, solution to an open source solution? Talk a little bit about that conversation that went on, and I don't know if you can talk about that because I know that you have. But again, I'm gonna shut down and I'm gonna let you talk, please.
Yeah, I mean, we were a commercial company initially, and when certain decisions in the company are made, there's only so much you can say, right? And that goes with any company. So yeah, so as far as the decision, it was always intended for hotcakes to be put in as many hands as possible, right? We continued to measure everything over time. That's something that hopefully every business does, right? And in doing the measurements, we were finding we were trying to just continue. We always would revisit things to see okay, how can we make things better, right? And that would be in anything, even internal or whatever. So in this particular case, we were like, wait a minute, we really want to even accelerate the adoption of hotcakes even more. How can we do that? And that's really the decision, the reason for the decision behind making it open source is to get it in as many hands as possible. Because at the end of the day, we wanted broad adoption. And so that's the gist of it.
Got it. Okay. So how is that working out? Because I know it's in its very infancy of getting started as an open source initiative, but what are your feelings right now about the way things are moving forward? I mean, are expectations being met? What's going on that front?
Yeah, sure. So it's actually been kind of exciting. We as an open source community, because there isn't a hotcakes organization necessarily anymore. But we as a community, there hasn't been any marketing done yet for it, but there's been a lot of activity already. And so the activity is primarily coming from some of the folks that we probably all know here in our own DNN ecosystem. But there's already been some issues created. There's been some testing being done, and there's been a lot of forum activity. There's already been pull requests. So there's been a lot of activity already, and we haven't done any marketing yet, and it's been less than a month. And there's already people answering questions on behalf of the project, right? So it's been pretty exciting to see that happen.
Got it. Okay. So I want to touch what I feel like sometimes, and again, I saw some discussions, a bit of an elephant in the room. That's. I'll go back to my introduction here. I mentioned CMS instead of DNN. I see the points. I just want to hear out loud, I guess, or a more of a, not that you or anybody else from hotcakes or from the steward of hotcakes need to justify or talk about why this and why that, but I would like to hear some of the thoughts behind the fact that let's not publicize that this is running on DNN. Let's try to make this as a standalone application. Again, I understand logically, but I would like you to bring your thoughts to the conversation as well.
Yeah, so first I'm going to address your joke in the beginning.
Okay.
So like in the forums, there's a replacement thing where certain keywords can be replaced with other things. So like that's most commonly used for things like profanity, right? Let's replace the F word with, something ridiculous. So we had a filter to replace DNN and any derivative of DNN with the term CMS. And so your joke would have been a lot more appropriate if you had said CMS chat. So anyway, but yeah, so that's actually kind of always been the case ever since Hotcakes was launched, because the DNN ecosystem, while it's great and wonderful and we all love it, it's not huge, right? And so from a commercial perspective, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense as that kind of vendor to only advertise in the DNN ecosystem. And so we very rarely ever did advertise in the DNN ecosystem. And even before these changes occurred, we didn't really have DNN even mentioned on the site at all. It was like maybe 5 instances, including like everywhere else, like with our documentation and whatnot. There's like about 5 instances total. So the reason was to basically, if you're advertising in a broader ecosystem, somebody is looking for an e-commerce service solution. They're not looking for DNN and let me add CMS, right? The only people that are doing that are the people that are in the DNN ecosystem already and are already versed into it in some way. They don't simply copy it. So the decision really was to make it more accessible to a broader audience, and to do that, for in both a technical and a non-technical perspective, if you introduce the term DNN, now they're like, okay, I was really comfortable with hotcakes, but now I need to figure out what this DNN thing is. Because when you look at implementations, website implementations, the ones that are actually e-commerce, they're going to actually accept some sort of funds, or they're trying to generate leads via an e-commerce application, that's much higher risk, and so they're not going to overlook the term DNN, and they're going to start looking into that. And so in the very least, the best case scenario is it just takes longer for them to adopt it, right?
I get it. I mean, again, great points there. It's one, if you throw DNN out there in the mix of hotcakes, it's one more thing that they have to figure out. It's one more barrier for people to overcome, to work through. So I have one more question for you, and it's not about the terms here. It's really about based on what you're telling me, I can sense that majority of hotcakes clients, they are not really DNN clients. I mean, they are the e-commerce clients, but which, by the way, has DNN behind the scenes, but they were not previously a DNN user, DNN client, correct? Is that what I get?
For the most part, yeah. But we also had a number of DNN folks that are they have their own implementation companies, or they're freelancers or whatever, that were also doing it as well. So there were a number of those. So it was kind of across the board, but we were only marketing towards the non-DM, or the entire e-commerce spectrum, right? We even as a company were at the very large IRCE conference one time as just visiting, but the other time as an actual vendor, and that's arguably the largest and most popular e-commerce conference in North America. So that's, we were basically trying to as a company, trying to get the broader audience, so that way we can market to a larger number, and then therefore pull in more customers, right?
Got it.
Because at the end of the day, people are looking for solutions. They're not looking for CMS. They're not looking for an application framework. Only developers are.
You're right. Now, with that said, I saw, and again, you recently mentioned on a post in the forum that I posted there, and you just this past week you addressed that again. Someone is working to get hotcakes packaged as a DNN module as well. Is that correct? I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I should have said something about how hotcakes is packaged in the beginning. So hotcakes, when we went to version 3, we repackaged it and began marketing it as a e-commerce CMS. Right? There's not really an e-commerce CMS. There's some CMSs that have e-commerce, and there's some e-commerce solutions that have CMS, but they're not both comprehensive, right? Like if they are CMS and they added e-commerce is not as good as CMS, and vice versa. And so in this particular case, when you marry DNN with what we had, it's, a perfect, kind of almost apples to apples. This is a full, complete solution. So e-commerce CMS doesn't really exist out there. So when, again, looking at the broader ecosystem, if we were trying to get them on board and get them to adopt hotcakes, now we have to oh wait, no, you can't install hotcakes yet. Now you have to go install DNN, and then they have to understand all that. And now let's go and do hotcakes and do that whole process all over again, right? And so we packaged it as a full solution. So you can think of it as an e-commerce distribution of DNN, right? And so that's how we packaged it and released it. But going along with that mission of trying to get the broadest amount of adoption possible, we saw a lot of feedback from the community that they really wanted to continue on the path of how they were already doing it with a module package. And so we're our next release is going to be 3.0.1. I don't have a date for that yet. There's one update that's going to be put in, another pull request we're waiting on. And so once that occurs, then we're going to have it. I can imagine it's not going to be more than a week or two. But when 3.0.1 does come out, we're going to have two installation packages, and one of them is going to be the standalone e-commerce CMS, and the other is going to be the module package that people are used to.
Awesome. So I guess that came because you and when I say you, I mean it's you and the steward behind, because I would assume that Arrow is still the steward behind the platform. I mean, you left that a little bit. I guess it is. At least in the site it says by Arrow Digital. I mean, let me go back to my points. I guess that you guys heard the DNN community say that we would love to install hotcakes in our DNN sites, and that's, in a way, that's the answer that comes back to the community, correct?
Yep, exactly.
Awesome. So let me ask you a few more things about hotcakes. So where people should go if they have questions, concerns, comments. I know that there's a community. Where is that located? I have the site in front of me. If you tell me where I should click, I will click.
Sure. Yeah. So our the website is hotcakes.org, right? And so it's important for us to have a .org. And so with the hotcakes.org, if somebody needs help, they can go to the community section. And so when they click on that, what they first see is a few options, right? And so they'll see the ability to look at forums, and I think there's blogs, and then there's some other things as well. But one of the cooler things is a leaderboard, and that leaderboard is a fully functional leaderboard. And also it's very much tied in with a lot of different things that are community contribution based, right? So, or participation, I should say, because there's a lot of different ways to participate in any community, right? And so in building ours, it's really important to reward people for the things they're doing. So every 24 hours it recalculates. So it's overnight. And so you're not going to see instantly your points go up. That would be nice, but that's a very process intensive thing to do something like that. So when somebody does things like, submit a pull request, create an issue, respond to an issue, and those things are, by the way, are happening on GitHub, not on our site. When people are doing things like creating a blog, which, we have the blog open up to anybody who wants to be a guest blogger. We just haven't announced it. But we've done that for a little while now. There's quite a few different ways that people can participate, even answering in forums or creating a forum post, and they get rewarded for that. And our partner program is part of the community as well. So everybody who becomes a partner, and it's self-service, anybody can sign up to be a partner, and there's certain parameters to be listed. But once you're listed, your participation as a company dynamically every night, overnight, we'll reorder the entire partner program directory to show the ones who participate the most in the community first.
Awesome, awesome. Great. So I know that you have departed from Arrow, but now I would like to hear what is Up and Do. And did I pronounce it correctly? Up and Do?
It's Upendo.
Up and Do. Okay.
So Upendo Ventures. So a long time ago, people might have known my previous company I had was Stroll Site Design. So the beginning of this year, I ended up creating my own company again. I don't know why. Sorry about that noise if you heard
No
it.
worries, no worries.
So at the beginning of this company, beginning of this year, I started my own company. It's something that I've been thinking about for a long time anyway. And so for the people that do know me, for the people that don't know me, I should say, let's rewind to that. I had a life-changing event almost 2 years ago at this point, and I lost my soulmate, right? And it was a sudden thing. She passed away. Many couples have pet names for each other, and ours was Simba and Nala. All right, so there's a whole story behind that. But anyway, in Swahili, Simba means lion, and in Swahili, Nala means gift. Right, so that's from Lion King. If anybody's not familiar with Lion King, so I wanted to. We had been talking together about doing a company, and so I wanted to dedicate the branding and the direction to her in a way that we would have been doing it anyway. And so in doing that, I wanted to name it and have the branding reflect it, and we can see it behind me. But Upendo means love in Swahili, so love ventures, right? So that the name was very, very important. And the brand, the colors are kind of based upon Lion King, and the logo itself, you can see it's a heart, and there's a woman in it, and there's 3 curls in her hair, and that's for the 3 years that we did have together. So that's the story behind the company name. Yeah. So as a company, we primarily focus on DNN for obvious reasons. We have a lot of expertise there. But we do other things for folks as well. So basically, when a client comes in asking for us to solve a problem that they have, we don't just like, okay, let's check off your check boxes. We take that and we say, okay, in order to accomplish that, we need to use these tools and these processes and talk about this for discovery and all that. But some of our funnest stuff that's been happening recently is, and especially with some of the local companies here, is that we've been doing a lot of brand identity and target audience identification as well.
Perfect. Scott, you were about to ask something?
Yes, I was going to ask Will, hotcakes. Well, first of all, we've been using hotcakes for one of our clients, and I'm excited about 3.01 because the reason why we need it to be a separate module is because we have the client on one of the professional products, the Evoke product, right? So that's exciting. And also, I was wondering what the relationship was, because hotcakes was originally kind of a venture of Arrow Consulting, right? And what is the relationship between Arrow Consulting and Upendo with regard to hotcakes, or is there one?
Very good question. But Arrow has not very recently. It's actually been a few months. But they rebranded, so they're not Arrow Consulting anymore. They're Arrow Digital. Right. So they have a nice little blog article on their site too. When you first come to there, it's like, hey, let's reintroduce ourselves. So Arrow Digital is basically the steward. There's different terminology used in the site, but they're the steward of Hotcakes Commerce. And Upendo Ventures is the official Hotcakes cloud provider and Hotcakes SLA support provider for Hotcakes Commerce.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, so now I know that it was Blue Bolt's pressure to get that module broken down. And now I know that. Now I got the behind the scenes. Anyway.
I don't know if I'd say that, but...
Okay. Let's put it this way. We don't speak for the companies that we work for. We just speak for ourselves, here. That's it. That's the asterisks that goes on those conversations. Okay, before I depart from you, Will, anything else that you'd like to mention about hotcakes, about your new venture, anything on that topic before I move on?
Oh yeah, we'll be happy to accept more customers at upandoventures.com.
Perfect. Awesome.
And also, if anybody wants to use Hotcakes, whether they need support from us or not, that's fine. But hotcakes.org, go download it, go play with it, go participate in the community. We'd love to see that more, and I'll be seeing you in the forums there.
Very good, very good. Okay, so let's depart here. I don't know if we're gonna be able to talk too much about this because Joe is having some audio problems there, but let's see. DNN Summit, February 6th to 10th. And again, we are having some audio problems with Joe, but that's fine. So if you want to check more information, the site is up. I think that speakers are already lining up for the event. I don't know what I can disclose at this point in time. I might be talking there again. I mean, you guys may have to keep up with me for another full day training, and I don't know who else is lined up there. But things are developing, things are progressing, and you're gonna be hearing more and more from the committee that puts together the DNN Summit. So keep checking the website, keep checking the Facebook group. Again, it will be all over the place as things get clearer and clearer as we go along. That's as far as I'm gonna go this time around. Now, let's talk about another guest of ours. And Hans, I'm talking about you. So let make sure that Hans Lentin, correct? I mean, did I pronounce it correct? Awesome. So correct. I have right now in front of me dodnnwork.com. I want you to take away and tell us what this is about. I have some questions here, but do your spiel.
Okay, it's a new initiative I started after the DNN Connect in this beginning of this year. It's a dodnn.work. It's the URL. It's a listing of DNN experts with from inside the community or outside the community, just to create a long list of the first class of experts working with DNN. I know there are several sites where you can search for experts like freelancer.com or Upwork, etc. But those are not dedicated to DNN, and I don't like the fact that you are competing with each other about the price in mostly of the situations. DNN.work is just an initiative to grab all those experts together and show their skills and their profiles, but also a place where customers or people who are looking for some extra hands on their project can search and can place their projects and start asking for people to look if their project will match with their skills. It's just free for every DNN expert to create your profile. It's free for people to place their projects. It's a new idea, and I think it's very interesting because after the first launch, there are already 57 experts who are listed on the site. It's of course it's built on DNN. It's a skin from Jeff Barlow from DNN Consulting, who is also sponsoring my initiative by hosting the site for free. Again.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick question. And again, you're gonna keep going with your thought process there, but how do I know? I'm looking at this guy. His name is Will Stroh here. He is in the expert list, and I mean, how do I know that this guy is really an expert in DNN?
Yeah, this. Just go and look in his profile. Well, there are some questions asked by creating your profile, and every profile is. I try to read and look if the guy is on the forums on DNN software, is building sites with DNN. I will check the sites and the skills. I cannot check if his skills are correctly and if he has those skills. but at least I can see it's not a spam account, and it's guy who's DNN related because he's in the Facebook group or he's on the forums. So there is a kind of a check, and if there are people who are thinking, well, that's not the correct profile, just send me an email and I will try to keep the list as clean as possible.
Awesome, awesome. So before I interrupt you, you're going on a thought process there. Sorry about that, but do you want to regain that thought, or should I ask some more questions?
I've got one sneak preview. I don't know if it's possible to share my screen.
It is.
Of course, you see the nice logo, but in this screen, you will see, of course, there are some profile, and you'll see the profile of David Poindexter, Will Stroll, and Jeff Barlow. Just a few experts on the list, but in this screen you'll see some screenshots about a new app. David Poindexter offered to build an app for the site, so he started, and it's not released yet because he is hard working on it, but those are the first screenshots about the app, which will be released as soon as it's ready. So you're the first one who has screenshots for now.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So we are getting a sneak peek on an awesome app that our friend David Poindexter is putting together for DoDNN.work. What a nice domain, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but I think it's a nice name. It's related to work. It's DoDNN work, and let's work together on DNN. So that's the most. That's why I choose that name.
When I saw the name, it was very cool for me because you know, the DNN Summit conference in a previous life was Day of DNN, right? Like the original name was Day of DNN, and the shortcut for it with the hashtag was DoDNN. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Awesome, awesome.
Well, I saw that too, but I think, well, it was a few years ago, I think. So the last hashtag was a few years ago. So I think, well, I could try this.
Hans, let me ask you this. I saw there's a blog on the site as well, and I see that you keep updating as you do different things on the website. Let me ask you, how are you promoting the site right now?
On this moment, there are. I've asked users from the Facebook group to add their profile because they are DNN related, and I want to have the list a bit more larger. But there are some famous names already on the list, and I'm promoting the site outside the DNN to get people from outside the community who are looking for experts. So there's an AdWords campaign and there is a Facebook campaign started related to DNN. And if you go to the site and you take a look at the project page when you are logged in, there's already one project on the list who's looking for a DNN expert, and the guy was from outside the DNN community. So it's already find outside the community. There is an AdWords campaign which already has more than 10,000 visitors who saw the AdWords. So I'm trying to show the site outside the community for people who are looking for experts, and inside the community I try to use Facebook and Twitter for give it more publicity.
Got it. One quick note, and take it at face value here. When I go to projects not logged in, I don't see. Of course, I don't see the project that is listed only for logged in users. It would be interesting somehow to give a sense that there are projects behind the scenes already. Because right now, if I just land on the site, if I go to projects, I don't see anything. I have the impression that there's no projects there. Somehow, it would be interesting to convey the message that you need to log in to see the projects, or somehow show these are, maybe a preview of what that project is about. I get the point that you have to log in, but again, somehow it would be interesting to have some clues here that, one, you need to log in to see, and two, there are really projects behind the scenes here. Again, just out of, on top of my head, and take it, that's just my 2 cents here,
Okay, and the other part of the site is the roadmap page. It's brand new. I just launched it today. On the roadmap page, you can add your features you are looking for this site, and you can vote for other features as well. So
awesome.
There is the only thing I like is when the site helps the community to get more focus on DNN and get more DNN work to do. I will do whatever I can to make the site that big. So do help by adding roadmap items or just ask questions or whatever.
No, that's awesome. And again, great initiative, Hans. I really salute you for putting something like this together, coming up with the concept, coming up with the idea, spending your own money on promoting the site. I would recommend that, instead of spending your own money, get some sponsorship behind it and then spend their money, because it would be more effective for you, and you could scale a little bit better the initiative as a whole, and again, there are people in the community that I'm sure they would be more than willing to sponsor an initiative like that is proving to shed light on people, shed light in the community. And again, you can go for the hosting providers that they have more bucks than the regular folks. Again, there is sponsorship opportunities here, and you should look for something like that. Okay, again, just my 2 cents here. Take it, as at a face value. Perfect. That's about it. Anything else on the DNN, Hans? Any final points, or can I move on? We need to wrap this up.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, great. So I want to plug quickly the DNN tip of the week. Every week we put a new tip of DNN, about DNN. Maybe it's something hidden in DNN, maybe it's something buried under the DNN settings. And again, every week I try to put something interesting, something new, or maybe something old that I want to shed some light about DNN. So that's the DNN tip of the week. What else I have here? There is a segment that I usually like to go through each one of our guests and ask what's new, what's interesting, what's exciting, what is, what's keeping them up at night. I'm not talking about your bills, Joe, your bills, Will. I'm talking about the new technology, the new tool, the new approach, the new initiative that you guys might be working on. It can be a technology, it can be marketing, it can be whatever it is that is exciting you at this moment in time. It's you have dedicated time in the past month. So I'm gonna start. Let's pick top to bottom here. Will, anything from your side?
Ooh, on the top, cool. I can't see, so I don't know. Yeah, so I just started using a really cool tool for kind of project management and customer interaction for projects, and it's called PlanScope. And you can go find it at planscope.io. But it's really neat because it kind of spans the entire spectrum of being able to manage a project and communicate with your team and communicate with the client and give you, a good idea of like how your budget is and scope and all those things. And so it is very easy to use, and it's built by an agency like a typical agency. So it's scratching their own itch, as they say, and so it's really neat. I suggest people try it.
Awesome. Planscope.io. I'm gonna write that down in the comments, in the show notes of the chat. Joe, anything from your side? I guess that audio thing, it's not working that great. So if you want to put something in the chat, I can tell everyone.
Am I better now?
Yes.
Oh, I have spent probably a good part of the last week and a half on a site that managed to collect about 370,000 spam users, which could not be upgraded. So I had to basically rebuild the site. It wouldn't export the site either, so it was one of those painful things. Fortunately, the amount of content was in some modules, so I had to move that over. And one of the amazing finds inside of that site was an old module written by somebody named Will Stroll.
So are you telling us that Will Stroll module is collecting spam users?
So I think what I learned from that is no matter where you go, no matter what you do, Will Stroll will track you down and help you.
Good, great. Okay, so that's a challenge. Good, Joe, you are becoming expert in dealing with spamming websites. No, so again, whenever I have a spam problem, I'm gonna go for you.
No, just pain all around.
Okay, good. Hans. Anything from your side? I mean, I guess that's the logical thing for you is the do DNN, but anything aside of that?
I was just creating more business applications. That's the focus in my company, and I'm working on Stefan Kamphuis from the Netherlands is working on a new module for me for storing JSON and XML files into a table, so I can handle it afterwards. So it will be a generic module. So I hope it's ready soon, and maybe if it's possible, we can open source it or set it somewhere else.
Got it. Awesome. Love the outsource thing there. I'll mention something later. Steve, anything from your side? Anything new, interesting, exciting? I mean, again, go for it if you have.
No, not really. I just had a question on uploading file security and so on. That's been answered very well. So that's puts my mind at rest.
Perfect. Again, you were the one that sparked that question. Okay, so keep that in mind.
Okay.
I think that Scott is gone. Yes, he's gone. So let me see here. From my side, I usually keep myself as the last one. I do have, it's a tool. It's a SaaS product, you know. It's called Process Street, and the site is process.st. And it's in front of me. Again, it will be in the show notes. What is the site about? It's about creating processes. It might be creating processes for your business. It might be creating processes for your team. It's about standardizing processes, and you can create checklists out of those processes. You can assign to your team members. It can go automatically to them every week, every day, every month. It will remind them what needs to be done. It will give them a checklist that they go first, second, and they just keep checking and going down the list. Very great tool for whoever is interested in automating and systematizing a process, a business, maybe a department, maybe a team. Very, very interesting tool, very good tool. I'm going all in on that tool. On the same note, I usually don't promote my podcast, but I will do this time because it's very relevant to this. If nobody has ever watched any of my interviews on the outsourcing podcast, that's fine. But there's one interview that I would highly recommend. It was, I did that about 4 weeks ago with a guy, his name is Gonzalo Paternoster. He is the master of systems, the man of systems. This guy automates and creates processes on everything on his business. It was an awesome interview. I think that's the best interview that I have ever done. If any of my interviews are good, I don't know, but this one is good, not because of me, but because of the guy. So I'm gonna share the link. Again, if you have never watched any of my interviews, you're not missing much, but if you watch this one, it will be more than worth your time. The guy is a master of systematizing and automating businesses. That's my plug for the podcast. And finally, I want to plug the new DNN Hero video. Actually, it's from Andy at DNN Creative, and it's about how to create a complete DNN theme using CSS Grid and Flexbox. That's the latest video on DNN Hero at this point in time. That's it from me. Anybody else has anything else to add? I mean, any plugs, anything else? We can say our goodbyes and take back our days. Very good to have all of you guys. Very good to have for the first time you, Will. Good that you woke up early this time around. You know, very good. Hans, very good initiative. Love the work. Keep doing the work. You know, love do DNN. Keep doing the sites as much as possible. Steve, very good to have you around. And as well, our usual suspects, Joe Craig and Scott Wilson. Scott, I hope to see your face next time. But other than that, take your day back. Have a good, August. And we talk again at the end of August. Bye.